Hey everyone, welcome to the Grind Together podcast. We're the Grinders. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Matt. And on this podcast, we want to create opportunities for growth through real conversation.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. We are glad to be here again.
We are.
Yeah.
So happy.
Lauren's got a little bit of a cold, so.
I got something. I feel like I've been sick more this year than...
I know, I felt bad because she's
It's
pregnant and has a cold. I stopped her the other day and I was like, I don't think it's fair that you are this sick plus you're 6 months pregnant.
I'm 7 months pregnant now. Praise the Lord above. We have 2 more months. It's great. We're super happy. But yeah, no. And I said, thank you for sympathizing with me. So thanks. Sorry I have it's becoming a thing on this podcast, having this like nasally
No, that's totally fine.
voice. It's fine. It's like a thing now. So anyways, but we're happy you guys are here with us today.
Yeah, we were in Mexico last week. We went on like a little baby moon.
We did.
Before the kid comes, and then it's also our 10-year anniversary in September, and so we kind of just did 2 trips in one there and made it a big thing. But we are back this week, and we want to talk about divorce this week.
We do, and I think that the reason that I was like, let's talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
was we were talking one night, like before we went to bed, about, I don't even know what we were talking about, but somehow we got on this topic, and I said to you, like, we just started rambling about this. And I was like, I'm going to stop talking because this would be a good podcast episode. And it was late, though. And we were just like laying in bed and we started talking about the importance that we feel like, I mean, obviously our podcast is very much relationship based. And I think a lot of times we grew up with like, you don't talk about divorce when you get married. It's not something that you bring up. If you ever say the word divorce, it's bound to happen. All those kind of things. And so for a really long time, for years, we never talked about it. It wasn't even anything that was even brought up because it was like this scary thing that if we even brought it up or talked about it or anything, like A, we had failed, and B, like, I don't know. It was taboo. Like we did not talk about it. We didn't even bring it up. It wasn't even like,
well,
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's it could be the case in most relationships, but the reality of the world is that 52% of marriages fail anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And like they end up in divorce anyway. So like we're playing against the cards right now. And honestly, it's funny that, I mean, it is talked about a lot, and there's courses you can buy. There's people you can go talk to as far as divorce goes. There's like so many, I mean, there's divorce attorneys. It's such a big thing in our culture where it's like, oh, this isn't working out. Okay, great. Yep. Let's just take the easy card out and let's get divorced. And it's funny. I almost wish we had somebody on here that has been divorced.
Yeah.
And maybe down the road that'll be the case. But, because obviously we've never been divorced.
We haven't.
And for, like you said, for a long time in our relationship, it wasn't really a topic of discussion, and we weren't going to talk about it because that wasn't something that we wanted, right? Air quotes, because it's like, that's not why you get married. You don't get married to get divorced, right? It's funny. I don't know who told us this, but somebody told us that like year 7 was probably like one of the hardest years of your marriage.
I think it was one of our neighbors.
Oh, okay, cool. And we were like, well, shit, this is our 7th year of marriage, like at that time, right? And we were like, what's going to happen? Anyway, 7 years didn't go, 7 years wasn't that horrible, but when 8 came along, I was like, oh crap. And that's when we finally like, it probably came up in like a fight one time, and it was like, well, why don't we just get divorced? Like, do you even want to be with me? I can't remember how it went down.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah, I don't remember. No.
Something like that.
Because once it got thrown out there, it was a hot topic. But I
remember the first time that I think that I was the one that said it the very first time, right? And I remember you saying like, well, great, just go then. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to leave. I was just trying to like win. And I'm
like, you want to talk big, you better act big.
Yeah. But yeah, and so that's the thing. I think that for the longest time we didn't even talk about it, and And we didn't stare it in the face until it actually was staring right back at us.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like when, like that I realized was like, it got really bad for me to realize like, hey, this might be what needs to happen. Like this getting divorced might be the best option. And this whole episode is not about the fact that you should get divorced. This is like, I promise you.
Or if it's a good or bad thing.
Yeah,
like, that's not up to us.
It's not up to us. It's not our decision on if even like, I mean, we've even said at the beginning of the episode, you know, if you get divorced, your marriage failed. I don't necessarily agree with that on every standpoint. I think sometimes people give it their all and it just doesn't work out.
Well, the marriage did fail. You are not married anymore. You failed.
It just ended.
Well, yeah, but that marriage is over. So
it's over. Yeah, but I don't think that means it failed. Like fail has such a negative.
I'm just saying the being
connotation.
I get what you're saying. Okay,
I get
cool.
that. Okay,
yeah.
That's anyways. Whatever.
You are not married anymore.
You're not married anymore. Okay, whatever. But at the same time, I think for us, like, what was so eye-opening is that when we realized, like, okay, wait, like, I can leave at any given time. Yeah. Nothing is holding me here. So I think, like, that's when things changed for us a little bit. I truthfully think so, at least for me. Where it was like, there's literally nothing keeping me here. Like, I get to decide. So whether that's like, you're not forcing me financially, I don't have to be here. And our situation's different. Like I said, like we're in a situation.
What do you mean though? Like what, you start from the beginning. What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
How did you get to the point where you're like, nothing's holding me here? Because for me, I would use the word divorce, like I said, as like a dagger in a fight, but I wasn't going anywhere. Were you leave? But granted,
I think it starts like that. I think it started like that. And I think that's probably why people are like, hey, don't use that. Like, don't use divorce in like a fight because like it hurts. And it's like, oh, wait, okay, like, cool, leave then. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like you said to me.
Yeah.
But I think it got to the point where I became so unhappy. And I was so unhappy with like our situation and our relationship. And I wasn't really seeing I wasn't really happy with me, to be honest with you. That it took me like a second to sit back and be like, okay, Matt's not happy. Yeah. I'm not happy. Like I'm asking question after question. We're having fight after fight. We can't come down to a mutual thing.
Right.
Like we must be the reason that we're not happy. So like I'm the cause of his unhappiness and he's probably the cause of my unhappiness. Which we now know wasn't the truth. But
when I love that you said that. Let me pause really quick there because that's what happens, I think, in the majority of relationships that actually end up in divorce, where they're 1000% blaming the other person for whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you don't make enough money, so we don't have this, or you did this, and so I don't get this. It's like it's 1000% on the other spouse. Rather than actually, like you said, looking at yourself and seeing what you've done.
Yeah. So like for us or for me, as I can only talk for myself. So
we were playing the blame game a lot.
We were playing the blame game. But here's where like it was a little bit different because I feel like when people hear our story, it's like, well, nothing like huge happened. Sure. From like, cause I didn't know everything before I came. I mean, like I didn't know what was to come. When I was ready to come to the table to say like I'm out.
Oh, sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You just knew that we were super unhappy.
I just knew how unhappy we were, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, because I think like when you hear that story, and if you've been in that situation, like I said, like even when I talk to people, and even when like I say this out loud. I had to take a step back because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how unhappy I was with myself. And I didn't realize it even at the time.
Yeah.
Or I was like, I am the main reason why Matt is unhappy. Like, because I say people stay in marriages for lots of different reasons. Like you just said, like, we're not making enough money and it's your fault and things like that. Like outside looking in, like I like could walk away. Like, and I knew that I could say, okay, cool, I'm leaving. If I left, I could parent by myself. I don't want to.
That's when you got to that point where you're just like, I don't need you.
I could financially support myself. And if I couldn't, I'd figure out how to.
Right.
I could, like, all these things, right? Mm-hmm. But what was, like, keeping me around was, like, okay, like, I want to make you happy, and I think you make me happy, but now I'm realizing I'm the, like, source of your, I thought I was the source of your unhappiness.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm being so selfless. I'm going to remove myself from situations so that you can be happy. When in reality, like, I wasn't really happy for myself. And my whole dependency on, like, if I was succeeding in life was if you were feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
And you, so, like, I guess I'm just trying to, like, paint that a perspective for some people of, like, sometimes it doesn't have to be astronomical. It's literally like, okay, why do we feel so unhappy? And a lot of it was like, I didn't have a lot of purpose in my life other than exactly what I just said of being a wife and a mom and a successful real estate agent that I thought I was. Do you know what I mean? So
no, absolutely. And let's, like, walk through. I mean, let me ask you a question. Why? Trying to put it into words, but okay, great. Yeah. Simply enough, because that was a situation for us.
And it made it even easier to walk away once I, like, had actual, like, physical things that I was like, oh, you hurt me. Like, oh, you told me you've been addicted to porn and all those kind of things. Like, then in moments where I was like, fuck you, I'm leaving.
Right.
Or, like, I can do this by myself. I don't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. It made it a little bit easier because I had that, like, hate that I was holding on to say, like, I'm out. Like, you hurt me, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Which I don't think, I mean, obviously I know now, but I didn't really want that. It was scary.
Well, and it's funny too.
It was easier to walk away than it was to stay in my opinion.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's so many things we talk about. From my perspective as well, right? Because, like, I know I had problems. I know I'd been through ups and downs. I knew all that.
I wasn't perfect though.
No, I know. And that's what I'm saying. And so, like, I think that from both ends of the spectrum and both sides of a relationship, there's things, right? Where, like, if the male has problems, then great. But the male probably also sees things on the girl where it's like, oh, you're this, and this, and I don't like this, and you're not making me happy. But it goes back to that one simple thing where it's your fault, not mine.
I think the number one thing we always get from couples is like, I feel like this is a universal thing, so I'm saying it.
Go for it.
That guys are always like, well, she treats me like I'm her mom.
Like her mom. And like I was just going to say I'm that, but I don't want to be like, yeah.
No, I think it's totally fine because I think so many marriages fall into that. We're like, I don't want to be your mom, but I feel like I have to be.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't treat me like I'm your kid. And it's so true. And, like, our relationship was that for a very long time where I was like, I have to take care of him and I have to keep up on him. And I, ask permission and, like, screw that. I don't want a relationship like that at all. I didn't marry you to take care of you.
Well, let's dive into that. I think that's perfect. So why is it that people feel that way? Why is it that wives feel like the husband is just another kid? Because you're so right. Like, so right. From my perspective, it's like, for me, it was, you wanted to have this schedule. Like, we always got down to the fight or, like, the conversation of, I'm just not you. I don't work like you. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you're looking at a kid and you're like, hey, I need you to be here at this time because you don't know the schedule and we're not on the same page. And hey, I need you to take out the garbage because it's not a priority for you, but it is for me. And you need to do it. Right. And so it's just like, that's the authoritative figure that let's say women take to a man that, if we're talking generalities, like, goes to work, comes home, watches the game, expects dinner, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to all the day-to-day routine things, and interject if I'm wrong, but I think I'm on the right path. It's the guys don't have that in their head, and the women think that they have to control that aspect of it, right? Am I going the right direction for you?
Yeah, I just have one word.
Go for it.
Expectation.
Right, and that's perfect. I love that. And so the woman is expecting something of the husband that the husband's not like genuinely, because I've been there, not even thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't even have it on his mind.
Or even the expectation on the wife or the woman of, or the opposite partner, whatever you want to call the other person.
Yeah.
It's just the expectation that they feel like they need to fulfill that role. I mean, like, if you look at society and you look at, like, I mean, even from forever, it's exactly like you said. It's a society type thing where it's like mothers like baby their children, and like, it's like, oh, you get married, and like your mother-in-law's like, I mean, my this doesn't apply to us, but in general, like your mother-in-law's like, take care of my baby for me, and you know, like, I mean, in a way, society paints men, in my opinion, as like very powerful, very like businessman, but like they portray you like little tiny weasels when it comes to home stuff. Like, oh, for sure. Like you don't know how to cook. And you get back in the house
and it goes exactly back to how your mom treated you when you were a kid. Oh, exactly. That's perfect.
So like, I mean, truthfully though, like they give you such a powerful like hierarchy, power role in the world, but in a family situation, like you are worthless. And I mean, like I know that there's like, if you look back in time of like my grandparents or whatever, that father figure role is still there. But like, who ran the house? The mom did. Who ran the schedule? The mom did.
Like, but back in that generation, like the mom wasn't able to even like interject her opinion on the man either.
Well, no, because rights were different. So I mean, like at the same time, like things have obviously changed and stuff. But in my opinion, like that's just like the societal norm. That's the society's expectation of gender roles. And so it's like you get in a situation like that.
And there's only few couples. There's only like that I know where it's not like that.
Or even like, I mean, because for a really long time we would have those discussions and we would talk, because like I don't feel like you're somebody that fits into that category, a huge chunk of like, okay. I mean, we would like fight when it came to like kids' schedules, or like, hey, I need you to pay attention to this, or like I feel like I'm doing everything, and like you're the fun parent, and I like need you to be a little bit more on my team when it comes to like making sure things happen. I feel like though where our fights happen and where some of these other ones happen too, because you may be like, oh, this isn't us, is like asking for permission to do things just to be courteous of the other partner. Oh.
Yeah.
And this happens still to this day. Everyone does this. I don't care who you are. Just to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. And I mean, there are a lot of men and women that I know that like don't even blink an eye and schedule things and go do things with their friends or with family without like running it past partners. And if that's your relationship and that works for you, then cool. For us, it wasn't something that worked out.
Like I would literally tiptoe around asking you to go do something because I already knew in my head, your response, and it was always like a hell no. You got to do this, this, and this, because I didn't know the schedule. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. And kind of vice versa, where it's just like you don't want it. You don't want to offend or start a fight, but you want to do the thing so bad.
But it's not even schedule. It's just it's literally the expectation.
Yeah. So let's talk about the expectation, because I feel like we're getting off on a tangent. So what you mean by that is literally the best advice that we ever got, in my opinion, is rather than, I mean, in a divorce situation, you would have to be on your own with the kids anyway, right? And you would have to do everything without your spouse anyway. And so the best advice that we ever got was just don't expect them to do anything. Like, don't expect them. You can't expect your wife, if you're the husband, to put the kids to bed, to change the diapers, to cook the dinner, to have the house clean. Like, don't expect that. Because if you were divorced and you split the kids anyway, you would have to do every single one of those things. And so why not just do it now when you're in the house and you have a marriage? And genuinely, when we got that advice where it's like, babe, I don't expect you to do anything, and I'm just like, I got it. It literally shifted our relationship 100%. For me, at least. Right?
Well, I just didn't feel like I had to baby you. Because I think when we originally got that advice, I was a little bit worried, because I was like, oh no, like I'm going to do everything now. And like that seems so overwhelming.
You just thought that it was like an excuse for me to be lazy
yep.
or whatever.
Which I know there's every 95% of people that just listen to that are like, oh gosh, if I didn't harp on my spouse about this, or we didn't talk about this, or there weren't expectations. And I don't think that's what you're saying is like, don't expect them. It just, the conversation became a lot more like, hey, this is what needs to happen. And like, this is what we have going on.
Yeah.
How are we going to make it work? Like,
well, yeah, that's the conversation that comes after, right?
Yeah.
That saves a marriage but the beginning for us was, I cannot expect you to do a damn thing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I can't expect you to make money. I can't expect you to clean. Like I said, and even in the girls' roles, it's like, no, you take the car to go get the oil change. You take the car to go get gas. Like, take the garbage cans out to the street. All those things.
Yeah.
Because if your husband wasn't there, you would have to do it anyway.
But I think what also helped my perspective change, like if like what really, really helped me was, because that was a hard concept for me to grasp at the very beginning. Because I was like, I literally was like, this is terrifying. Like, I'm going to end up doing everything. I'm going to be resentful because I'm not asking.
Right.
And because we're not talking. Like, then I'm just going to be pissy and all the things, right? Like, I really was worried about it.
Yeah.
And some advice that I got, I think during like an energy reading or something, and then it just like kind of followed over. Oh, that's a mosquito. Hit it. Was that I needed to be very, very direct in what I was asking you to do. So, or like what my expectation was for that. And I even still, like I did it tonight, where we were driving home and I was like, hey, before we put the kids to bed, I literally said, we need to put the sheets on the bed. And I stopped for a minute and I said, can I just rephrase that? Is there any way that you could put the sheets on the bed? Because like I am struggling bending over right now.
And that's the other side of the, like, if you start with not expecting anything and then it turns into direct conversation.
Yes.
Like very honest and direct conversation of what your needs and wants and expectations are.
Yes. But that has helped me so much because then I can't get mad. So if I'm like, hey, Matt, can you, and you do the same thing for me. Like, and it's and like, I feel like we're the same way with our kids, but there's always an ultimate like reasoning behind it. And I know we got off on a tangent about expectations and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like that. So like when you've come to me with like, hey, I saw on the schedule, like, so these conversations happen all the time with us. Like, I saw there's nothing on the schedule because we're big on our schedule here.
Yeah.
I saw there's nothing on our schedule. On Tuesday, I am going to go, like, I have a meeting, or I'm going to go golfing, or I'm going to hang out with my friend or whatever, right? I'm going to lunch with so-and-so. I just wanted to let you know. That's typically how it goes. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. Like, how long? For me, it's just like, how long do you think you'll be? Like, I just like to know, again, what that expectation looks like. Like, okay, cool. So how long do you think you're going to be? And if you don't know, it's like I'm not really sure. I can text you while I'm there and I can let you know. That's all I need. Yeah. Again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're still parenting him. There are some situations where I don't care. And then there's some that you still need to communicate because you are in a relationship. But that for us has been so nice because I'm not asking you for permission and you're not asking me. And it's just kind of like, have fun. There also are times though where we have had those conversations and you're like, hey, do you mind if I go golfing? And I'm like, to be honest with you, like, I would really like to spend time with you.
Yeah.
And like, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. And like, I was really hoping we could get a babysitter instead, or like, hey, I'm not mentally doing very well. I know that you really want to go golfing, but is there any way, like, could I come with you? Or could I, because for me, like, the quality time is huge, right?
Well, all you're talking about is just open conversation.
Like
communication.
Yeah.
But
not getting offended, because I feel like a lot of times I would say that to you and you'd be like, why are you so needy? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be needy.
But, okay. Yes. My one problem with everything that you just said, even though I love it.
That's okay.
Is that it took us a very long time to get to that point.
It did.
Right?
Yep.
And so let's rewind a little bit and let me ask you, and it's just kind of open answer. Why really do people get divorced? Like, genuinely, if we were just to start the conversation, why are people getting divorced? Because in our book, we got to the point where it was just like, I'm not willing to try anymore.
Yeah. And
so, but I still want to be with you. Right. And And so let's go find a therapist. Let's go find a coach. And all of these things that we're bringing up are stuff that we like literally sat down in front of somebody and we just spilled our entire life.
And they seem so stupid in the moment.
Oh, so dumb in the moment.
But even the smallest fights, like there was an underlying reason that we needed to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't therapy. It was coaching, and it was awesome.
Well, yeah. And so there's a different spin on everything. And so, because anyway, my point is, I guess I want to try and answer the question. I want to try and answer, why are people getting divorced? And really, in my opinion, I think it comes down to the fact that they don't want to try anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times those conversations are when my spouse is treating me like my mom, right? What am I going to automatically do? I'm going to go to a place in an environment where people are going to treat me how I want to be treated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get guys going to bars. That's where you get guys like going to golf and not spending time with their kids or their family.
Or even like on social media and talking to people. And
like, that's when you get guys like reaching out to other girls that actually respect them. Right. And see them how they want to be seen.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so if I'm going to answer that question, it's, you're not getting the respect, and we can dive into this too, but like, you're not getting what you need out of that relationship, and you're not willing to try anymore. Or there's circumstances, right, where you've tried, air quotes, as much as you can, and that other person isn't going to change one way or the other. And that's awesome. That's okay. But the reason people are getting divorced is because they're not getting treated how they want to be treated. And so they always outsource that to other people. And that's where we find like cheating. That's where we find, like infidelity, all of those things. Anyway, but,
sorry, we have a mosquito.
There's a mosquito in our house. I think for me, I think that's what happens. They're looking for that validation. They're looking for the respect, the way that they want to be treated outside of their relationship.
Yeah. So I think like I would ask everybody listening, the question that we got asked is like, ultimately, like, why are you with the person that you're with currently?
And that's where I wanted to go. That's perfect. Yeah.
Because like, I think
you have the option to leave.
You do.
Everyone has the option.
You do. And I think that for us was such an interesting thing to sit across the table or like across the room from somebody and have them point blank ask like, why did you fall in love in the first place? Like, walk me through that story. Do you know what I mean? And like, everyone here knows our story and we don't need to get into that, but it's like, why did you fall in love? What do you currently love about that person?
Sure.
And
oh gosh, I wish there was people like just across the seat from us and we could tell this story.
But like, for real though, like, I think if you're listening, pause and think about it. Why are you currently in a relationship with the person that you're with? What do they do for you? Not what do you do for them? What do they do for you? Why do you love them? What are the things about them that you love? Truthfully, what are those things? And it's okay if it's hard to answer. It doesn't mean that your relationship is in the toilet. It might mean that it's struggling.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time somebody asked me that.
You're just like, I don't know.
I struggled to answer for a half second because I was like, I don't know, because right now I want to punch him straight in the face. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think as I went back and I really started to think and answer and go back to like even 17-year-old me of like, okay, why? And like, or why? And then I think you need to follow it up with a question of, and every single day, why am I choosing to stay?
Perfect.
Like, why do I stay in this relationship?
That's a hard one to answer as well.
And every day could be different.
But
it truthfully could be.
Let me add something to that. Why do I choose this person every single day?
Yeah.
Not why do I stay? Why am I choosing you? Right? Because I could choose a different girl for one night, right? Or I could choose a different girl and get married to somebody else and say like, yeah, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But why do I choose you every single day? And that's a super, super cool question. And when you can actually get down to a conversation with your spouse and answer that, like, it's pretty freaking cool. But then it's also like a thing that should be top of mind every single day for you too. It's like, and that's where love and relationship just flourish.
Yeah.
In my opinion, where in the daily fights with the kids and the daily fights with you, where it's like, okay, cool. Actually, this is my person. I'm choosing this. I love you. And then everything just seems a little bit easier.
It does.
Right.
And the little fights are no longer, or like,
they're
not a big deal anymore. And do you know what I mean? Like you cannot go to bed angry anymore, and you can give each other a hug after a fight. And it's like, I'm not saying your marriage is sunshine and rainbows, because like,
no, but you get to the point where things just don't offend you anymore.
They don't.
And it's super cool, but people get divorced, right?
They do. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good.
No, you can keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, people still are getting divorced. And I think it's just because they give up. They don't want to try. Either one side gives up or the other side gives up. And in our case, we weren't willing to give up. Like, we were very much wanted to be like, okay, cool. What does this look like down the road?
I think for us, it was like, I mean, and look, we like tease now, and this probably isn't something we should tease about, but we tease now. We're in the stage of our life where like, we don't really get wedding announcements anymore or baby announcements. We're getting divorce. Yeah. We're getting divorce announcements now. Like, our friends or people that we know are getting divorced.
Those don't come in the mail.
They don't come in the mail, but we get like a text or like or like actually how most of them have happened. We've been like at some event and one person's not there, and we're like, where's so-and-so? And they're like, actually, we're getting divorced. And we're like, oh shit. Like, so sorry that didn't mean to like rip a Band-Aid off there. We're so sorry. Maybe we're happy for you. We don't know. Yeah. But like for us, a lot of the times, I lost my train of thought, so never mind.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay. Go.
Well, here's the other thing too about the whole blame game, right? If we're going to go back to that, right? Because every time that somebody gets divorced that personally that I know, the conversation always starts with this, but doesn't end with this. It always starts with, oh, they're doing this, this, and this. And this is why we're getting divorced, right? But in all reality, what's that mean? It's like, not what does that mean, but okay, great. Turn to yourself and be like, what am I not doing? And it goes back to what I just said. It's like, the reason somebody outsources that love or that respect is because they're not getting it. Like, they're not living and their life isn't how they've wanted it to play out.
Yeah.
It's just like if you were to like quit a job or something like that. Right. And so you've got to go to yourself and said, what did I not do? Like, and that's the conversation, let's say a year down the road after they realize everything that happened in their marriage. Right.
Totally.
So I don't know. It's crazy to sit here and say like that we are actually still together, to be honest with you, because of all of the ups and downs that we've had. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because like now we're creating the life that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, in the life that I would have looked for if we ended up getting divorced in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that's
which is super cool.
Well, and I think that's like also, I mean, that's what stirred this whole topic of conversation for us to begin with, was I think I said something too, like, if people realize that they could just leave at any given time in a marriage, which like, I know that I make it sound easier than it is, but like, truthfully, like, if you decide that one day you don't want to get married, then you up and like, hey, I don't want to, like, it happens to people all the time. Like, out of the blue, people are like, I got divorced out of the blue. My spouse served me papers out of the blue, or like they just left, or, and you're like, how could that have happened? And it's like, well, that person probably was thinking about it for a long time and just up and left. But like, that could be anybody, any day, anytime. Do you know what I mean? And so like, why is it all of a sudden that you stick a label on marriage and it's like all of a sudden you're trapped or you're stuck or it's harder or whatever? Like, no, that person could leave at any given time. So why do you choose who you decided to choose at the beginning? I chose you for a reason. So why do I continue to choose you day in and day out? And if I can't answer that question, there's something wrong. And I need to go and I need to walk away. And I think that there's power in knowing on both sides. Not just like, you're so lucky that you get to be with me, or like, I'm so lucky that I get to be with you, or like, you should you should just count your lucky stars that we're together. Like, because I know there are relationships like that. Like, it should genuinely be like, why do I want to be in this relationship? And why do I love you? And why do I choose you? Because if I can't answer that, I'm leaving. And I get to do it every day. It's not like and I want to improve myself to be the whoever it is that I want to be for you. And whatever that looks like. And sometimes you're going to outgrow somebody, like you're saying. It's like, sometimes there are partners, like we have countless people we know in our lives that have gotten divorced because one person has gone a different route than the other. And they know that they've moved hell and high water to try to figure things out. And one partner just won't budge, but it's not what they want. And I don't think that that's bad. It sucks.
Can I just say, wow, like what you just said was amazing. So good for you.
Thank you. I'm like a pat on my back.
If you can't choose that person every single day, then there's something to be fixed.
Well, and also
but in that second scenario, I want to ask you the question. So in that scenario where you say one person outgrew the other one, right? Are we talking about like a positive outgrowing, like, or what are we talking about?
I'm talking like, okay, I'm throwing scenarios out here. I'm talking one partner cheats.
Sure.
And other partner can't. Other partner's like, I'll forgive you. Mm-hmm. Let's figure this out. I want to stay married. I love you. I still choose you. I think you're amazing. Cheating partner's like, meh, actually, I don't really believe in marriage anymore. I would rather just go and do my own thing, and we can kind of separate paths.
So in that scenario, who's the one that gave up?
The one that cheated.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Yeah, because yeah. So like in that's what I mean. Yeah. Like in those situations, there's a lot of people that are like, I mean, abusive situations, right? Obviously you leave because that person's abusive for some reason. You're not the one that gave up.
Exactly. The person that was abusive was the one that gave up because they weren't willing to treat you with respect, with kindness, with love.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they weren't willing to look at themselves to be actually able to love themselves and then love you in return.
So I think another big thing too.
So I just want everybody to understand that.
No, I know. That was a hot topic like a couple episodes ago. We brought up divorce and people were like, people are not giving up when those things happen. What is that? We've been watching Emperor's New Groove as my Yzma.
Yeah, so to that point.
I was like, I have another comment.
To that point, because there is 52% of Americans that get divorced, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a very common thing. It's okay. It's okay to get divorced.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. But what we would love to advocate for is that if you have a relationship that you don't want to let go of, and neither does your spouse, but you guys are so unhappy, but you know that that's your person, there's ways to fix it.
Totally.
And we've seen that, and we are like a testament of it. And I'm so grateful for it. But just so you know, divorce is not a bad thing. And there are some circumstances where you probably should not be with the other person.
Yeah.
But if you choose that other person and you choose them every single day and you're just trying to find a way to be happier, there's ways to do that as well. And that's where we're like, both of those people are going to choose each other and they're going to grow together rather than one person leaving and giving up.
Totally.
So
I think your comment of like earlier when you were like, the advice we got where it was like, if you get divorced, then you're on your own anyways.
Yeah.
And I think you and I have seen that a lot too with like, I remember saying something to you like, if we were to get divorced and like this, and this happened, I'd be bugged with you. Because I would be like, seriously? Like I wanted you to do all these things when we were together. Why could you not have pulled your head out of your ass then? Right. Mm-hmm. And now someone else gets to like benefit from the shit I had to go through, which I think honestly, a lot of relationships that happens, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that also brings up an interesting topic of like, work on yourself too, please. Because like you need to look at yourself in a situation of, okay, cool. If I wasn't married.
Yeah. Who would I be? What would I be doing?
Yeah. Like, yeah. What would my hobbies be? What would would I care about my appearance more? Would I shower more? Would I brush my teeth more? I mean, I have very good hygiene, but I know a lot of people that don't, and it is concerning to me. Especially right now, I can't smell anything, and I've been concerned with like the things I haven't been able to smell. So But it's things like that where it's like, take care of yourself, damn it. Like, seriously, I feel that way. So, like, why wait to go get the gym membership or like mentally take care of myself until you just decided to up and leave me for some chick with like a nice rack and like a nice booty? Like, no, I'm nipping that in the butt right now and I'm going to be that. Do you know what I mean? I think that comes back to like, why are you laughing?
It's nip it in the bud.
What did I say?
The butt.
No, I think it's nip it in the butt.
Okay. We'll look
Why would it not be nip it in the butt? Like anyway. You nip it. Is that not a thing?
Anyway, keep going.
Is that like a flower term?
I'm not sure.
We'll look it up later. I think you're wrong, but it's fine. Whatever.
Anyway, yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
But if I go like, let's say the guy that goes for the girl with the big rack and the nice ass, it's like, that's not going to last because you haven't put any time or effort into it.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, but my whole point is like, you got to take care of yourself as well.
Okay.
And you need to not let yourself go in that sense, because the second that your significant other that is providing that like safety net for you, I'm going to call it that, your safety net gets pulled out from underneath you, what the hell are you going to do? You're probably going to want to seek companionship somehow. So how are you going to do that? What are you going to do? How are you going to act? What are you going to plan? Like, do that with your partner now. Why the hell wait for somebody else? That's so much. That honestly, it seems exhausting, to be honest with you.
I came up with another answer of why people get divorced.
Why? They're lazy?
No, what's people's number one fear that we know now?
Oh, to see themselves.
To actually be seen by other people.
Yeah.
And that comes with actually being honest with yourself.
Yep.
And these people that get in divorce situations, they don't want to have the conversations. They don't want to tell the truth. They would rather take the easy route and go find the other girl that they also don't have to have the conversations with and don't have to tell them the truth. Like, people are so afraid to actually come out with what's going on with themselves. And so they just take the easy route of, nope, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a continual thing. Like, we even know people that are on their third, fourth, fifth marriages, and it's just a continual cycle of, I'm an asshole, I'm an asshole, I'm an asshole. And I'm not willing to look at myself enough. I'm not willing to let people see me, but I'll just move on to the next until she actually sees me. And then I'll just move on to the next again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, when you realize who you are, when you realize what you're doing to yourself and who you're actually being, that's when you can come to the table in a relationship and be like, this is all of my baggage. Do you still want to be with me? Because I still love you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it's even like you said, like that's a huge part of your story where it was like, I was literally willing to sit there and say, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to come and tell Lauren everything because I can't lie to myself anymore.
Yeah.
So either she's probably going to leave me, but guess what? I can't lie to myself anymore, and I can't do this anymore. So either she's going to leave me and everything's out on the table and it's easier for me to tell the truth going forward.
Right.
Or she can choose to stick it out. But again, it was my choice what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And for me in that situation, it was like, oh, I can live with this. Like, oh, I can deal with this. Do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't really that big of a deal in my mind.
Sure.
It was like, and it was just like a relief for me to be like, I'm not the cause of your unhappiness, but I am the cause of mine. So
perfect.
That was like an eye opener for me to see like, wow. And like, I even said to you a couple weeks ago, we were talking and I said to you, like, thank you. Like, thank you for everything over this last little bit, because it's like truly propelled me into being like who I want to be. Do you know what I mean? Where it is like, I got to have that like transformation. I think you did too, that like we would have had we gotten divorced. Mm-hmm. We got to do it together, which was so much more powerful and so much more amazing. We got to share experiences together. And like, I actually think I probably grew way more because I had your help throughout all of it than I would have had I had to do it by myself.
I love that. I have another question.
Yeah.
Let's say people are in the situation that they are like, I think divorce is the best option.
I just gulped like I was nervous. I'm so sorry.
Where they're like, I think divorce is the best option.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily what I want. Like I want to stay married.
Okay.
Like I have kids with this person. I want to stay married, but he's talked about divorce. It's kind of on the table. My question is, what do you do?
I hate that you ask me these questions.
Why?
Because my answer is easy.
What's your
answer?
answer?
And I know that it's not easy because I think it's like, I'm going to say it and someone's gonna be like, that's common sense, Lauren. Duh. I would make it real.
Make what real? What do you mean?
I would make it real. I would do what I was going to do the night that I was ready to talk to you and say, okay, I'm done. What do you want to do?
Either so you're just saying a little bit like visualize what that looks like for you.
Uh-huh.
And then what?
And then talk.
But I think that's the problem though, is that I think that the people that get divorced, they don't talk, they fight.
Yeah, no, it's not a fight. It's a talk. It's a literally like it's like I came with my white flag.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm surrendering. So what do you want to do? I'm here with you. We chose to do this together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm freaking unhappy. So are you. You've talked about divorce. I have too.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we going to do?
Cool.
Truthfully, what are we going to do? Is this worth it? Is this
so
worth...
you're saying almost like, it's almost like when you go to buy a car and they don't give you the price you want and you're like willing to walk away.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There we go.
Like I got to that point in our marriage where I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm done. Like I hadn't gotten too far down the road of like the pathway of like, okay, what does it look like? What does my life look like without Matt? I got like I kind of got there. It was very scary. And it was like, well, I guess I'll just figure this out. Like,
I feel like that could backfire though, to be honest with you.
It could. I don't know. But for me,
like, yeah, I'm going to play this card, but
for my
you might be like, yeah, cool. I'm done too. So.
But I was ready for you to say the same thing.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was scared as hell. Like I was like, he's going to be like, okay, cool. You don't want to do it. You don't want it. Cause like sometimes you get like that where you're like, fuck you. I'm cool. Bye. There's the door.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find someone better.
So
do you know what I mean? And so
yeah, for
me, I think it was really like, hey, like I was ready to come to you and just be like, truthfully, I sat on the couch and with my blanket that looks just like this. I think it was my pink one though.
Well,
and I was ready to say to you like, okay, I know we've thrown this out there like a dagger. Like, let's just get divorced then or all that kind of stuff. But like, truthfully, let's make it real for just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really what we want? Is that what I want? Because I don't know. But where are you at? Like, do you want it?
Yeah. So we had that conversation.
And if we don't want it, how are we going to fix this? Or like, do we put a timeline on it? Or what does that look like? That was it for us. I don't think that that's the right answer for everybody.
Well, that was it for us. But then we spiraled and we're like, I hate this. Our relationship sucks. We've got to do something. And I think that's where people end up in like marriage counseling. Right?
Yeah, because we had the conversation. We were like, oh, we're going to get divorced. And then you spilled your baggage. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect.
Sure.
And
anyway,
and then we spiraled for like about a month. It was like month spiral. Yeah. And then it got really serious of like, I was pissed. Like I was no longer like happy. Like I'm doing this for you. I was like, I deserve better and I'm out.
Right.
And I think that's when I was like, we got to go talk to somebody. And we kind of had to get a second opinion in it. Because I think if we tried to talk by ourselves truthfully, and like, I'm not going to bag on marriage counseling because I've never done actual physical marriage counseling.
Right.
I feel like marriage counseling, you go in and I actually feel like they cause more problems than they
potentially.
I don't know. So I say that if you go to marriage counseling, maybe message us. I would love to get your insight on it.
Yeah.
We went to a coach, which was funny because like Matt did his own therapy sessions on his own, and he didn't like them.
Yeah, they didn't do anything.
And I was like, I have a coach I want to go to, and he was like, fuck that, I'm not going to anybody. And I was like,
well, the thing was that like I didn't want to sit there, and this is like, yeah. Long story short, I do think that people should relationships if they are willing to work on it, which is very hard to get to.
Very hard.
for both people to sit down in a chair and actually spill their guts to a person. It's hard to get to, but it happens all the time. I think that it's very, very beneficial to talk to whoever you can and get an outsider's opinion, almost call it a mediator.
I was like, I would be careful about what you just said there.
That's what I'm saying. Not an outsider's opinion, because other people's opinion don't work for your relationship.
I would be very cautious.
But what I'm saying is that like marriage counseling, life coaches, relationship coaches, that like that's where you utilize those things, and that's how we utilized it to get to the point where we're at. I'm so happy we did, right?
Yes.
And now we're on a path of like, we would love to help other people do this. And so like, little subtle pitch, if you're in that situation, we would please reach out to us.
And
right?
I think, and I think for us, like,
yeah, but it was like the best thing for us, because I could go and talk to somebody and it was like legitimately, it was like Lauren was there, but it was me fixing my own shit and then her doing the same thing, and then coming up with a way to fix it, our relationship in a whole. It was so cool.
It was really cool, and it was fun to do it together. And I think,
and we're still doing it.
Yeah, we are still doing it. It was it's like even more fun now, because like we get to get even deeper than we've gotten, which is like I didn't even think was possible.
Right.
But the other thing that I loved so much about it too was that like, I know for us at the beginning, it was like the financial standpoint of it was really difficult to like wrap our heads around. Was like,
well, you don't want to pay somebody to just like sit there and make you feel good.
Yes. And that was like the biggest thing for us. Do you know what I mean? And so I think I remember saying to you, like, well, this is this much money or whatever, but like a divorce would be this much. So like, what's worth it? Like,
right.
Truthfully, do you know what I mean? And I think when we wagered it out that way, it was like, well, this is the coaching is cheaper than the divorce would be. And like, we're working on ourselves and our relationship. And like, so if we can salvage it, then like, awesome. We just saved ourselves a bunch of money there. And so like, I think where Matt's going is like, yeah, talk to somebody. I would be very cautious with talking to friends, and I would be very cautious with talking to
that's a great point, because
family.
Because you get in those situations where you have the conversation with your spouse, and every single conversation is just a fight. Yeah. And there's no compromise. There's no, you're right, I'm wrong. There's none of that. And then you go to your mom after and you like, this is what Matt said. And then I go to my friends and like, this is what Lauren said. Right. And they're clearly going to take your side.
Well, yeah, because
they will always take your side. Right. But like, genuinely what you need is like non-biased, non-judgmental, someone that doesn't know the situation, or that kind of does, but that can just walk you through in a route where it's like, hey, whatever you choose is up to you, but I'm going to show you this other side.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what it could be.
I think it was so funny when somebody asked me one time, like, why do you guys go to coaching? Like, why did you guys decide to go to coaching for your marriage? And I like kind of sat there for a minute, and I was like, to be honest with you, I don't know. Like, we kind of looked at marriage therapy. Like, I looked at all these courses I had found, and like all these like licensed therapists and all this stuff. Right.
Right.
And nothing was like really resonating with me. And then we found this coach that we were going to, and I was like, to hell with it. Why not? Let's just try it. And I remember when we went like the first time, I was like, coaching was so fun for me to do, because I watched her call you out on your bullshit.
Right.
But I also watched her call me out on my bullshit. And that was really hard to sit with for a minute. And to have somebody straight up be like, and then to test everything I had ever thought of or my way of thinking without telling me that I was wrong.
Right.
And I think that for me was so cool and empowering to be like, I'm 30 years old and I can change my idea of something, or like I can change how my relationship can be. And it doesn't have to look like it does for everybody in my family, or it doesn't need to look like it does how my friends look or whatever. Like it truly is our relationship, and we get to decide, and I get to decide. It's not even really up to you. It's like, it's up to me. And so I think that was like one of the things that I loved the most, was it was like not somebody trying to sit and tell me like their 12-step program on how to stay married. It was like, no, like you're the only one that can do that, because it's your relationship. And so that was really cool for me. And like, I just loved like truthfully, someone calling me out on my crap.
Because if you think about it, and this would be the last thing I say about it, but if you think about it, if you go through like a like you said, like a 12-step program with like a therapist or whatever it is, once that program's done, you still have to look in the mirror and figure out if you still want to be with that person. And you can keep doing the steps of the program, But once you decide that they're not working for you anymore, because that's going to happen, then you'll be in the exact same spot that you started.
Well, I think you said it at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Why do people get divorced? Because they're afraid to see
themselves.
Exactly. So if you're not working on yourself,
if you cannot work on yourself, and your spouse can also work on themselves and be 1,000% okay with not being with you, and then being 1,000% okay with choosing you every day, then your marriage honestly is not it won't flourish like it should.
Yeah.
So guys, divorce is real. Divorce is okay. And we just kind of want to bring awareness to the fact that like there's a different side of just leaving. There's 1,000% a conversation to be had. There is work to be done. We understand the very hard situations and those ones those weren't divorce, which is fine. Right. But if that's not what you want, that doesn't have to be your reality. So this has been a super, super fun episode, and we are super grateful that you've stayed with us, right?
Yes.
Okay. We love you guys so much. And we can't wait for next week.
Yeah. See you guys next week.